Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our ongoing study in the novel First Sons and Last Daughters by Reine. We're going to take a look at pages 177 to 197. Very powerful symbolic language in this section of the novel. Let's go to block 1. Concern for Peyton's marriage. Peyton tells Scarborough that she is meeting Adler in Sedona, and hopefully for the good. Hopefully that they can work on restoring their marriage. But then Tansy calls from the ranch and reports that Gideon has been abusing her and that she is quitting. So Peyton tells her to take a 1-week paid vacation, and she tells her that she will also be paid a bonus for the trouble. And then Peyton will be back in a week, and they can resume then. So please don't quit. I will pay you a bonus, and I'll pay you a 1-week holiday. Abuse equals betrayal from Gideon and Adler. Peyton digs her nails into the palm of her sacrificial hand. I love that image. This is the wound of Christ that she carries in her left hand from the sacrificial ceremony. After hearing about what Gideon did, she digs her nails into her palm that has the scar in it. It's a crucifixion moment, and she's overwhelmed by this news. Peyton tells Scarborough that she needs a different and a changed son. Gideon is ruining the ranch community. Gideon is ruining the ranch concept of family. Peyton asks Ashton to please hire. She goes to Ashton for resolution, not her husband. Peyton asks Ashton to please hire Gideon away from the ranch, and Ashton agrees to do so. So that's more weakening of the marriage again. Peyton doesn't turn to her husband. She turns to Ashton, and Ashton agrees to help. The hanging tree and the field of blood. Ashton tells Peyton that he needs her and is willing to admit it. Peyton's paintings hang in every room of Ashton's house, but Peyton still tries to resist Ashton's advances, and she says, I have a family, I have obligations. But Peyton also desires to travel solo again, in the same way that Bryce is traveling solo again. Especially when Peyton gets a call from Adler accusing her of farming out their problems to Ashton, which he obviously does not care for. But she didn't like the way that he put that. I don't like the fact that you're farming out our problems to Ashton. Pioneer Ranch is becoming a field of blood, and something must be done. Gideon is a Judas Iscariot type figure, and the hanging tree became a field of blood, named a field of blood. And in this novel, the ranch is turning into a field of blood because of the betrayal actions of Gideon. The marriage is being destroyed. Bryce can't even go to the ranch because she's afraid of encountering Gideon. He's ruining the family atmosphere entirely. Let's go on to block 2. And very interesting metaphor all the way through block 2, because Reine, uses language now. She introduces language, and the metaphor of language, I think it's very important because foundationally, the primary concept you're going to address in the marriage is faith. Does each member of the marriage still have faith in the future of the marriage? But along with faith, you've got language that is very much a fundamental concept. The ranch is becoming the field of blood, sacrificial blood and blood of betrayal. Peyton asked Adler to support her decision concerning their son Gideon. Adler asked if Peyton has lost faith in their relationship. It is a fundamental question indeed. Peyton declares that they need to reconnect. That's not a very strong statement. It's less than faith, I can tell you that. She says, well, we need to reconnect. But we're talking about the possibility of restoration of a lost faith. Peyton accuses Adler of always parsing her language, and it's fine to stand on its own. She tells him, stop parsing my language every time I say something. Now, language is also a fundamental concept along with faith. Adler diverts the conversation away from himself and toward Bryce and her new love interest in Sedona, and Peyton inwardly diverts herself toward memory of Ashton. So they don't even want to really speak to each other. They don't want to address the fundamental aspect of language or faith. The marriage is crumbling. Restoration is not forming its own new language. It's been a long time since they faced each other nude without deception with genuine love. They agree to at least try in Sedona. Try reconnecting, that is. Peyton does affectionately call Adler Blake, and he loves that when she does that as they close their conversation. Adler does confess, what I miss is our long stretches of peace. Is the sacrificial scar in Peyton's hand healing or not? And we will have to see. And what we've discovered thus far is it's not really healing. I mean, there's problems of faith, problems of language that need to be addressed, and they're both diverting their attention away from discussing that. Let's go on to block 3. Okay, Reine closes out this section of the novel in a very, very emotional, very, very powerful way. I mean, I don't care who you are, this upcoming scene should wrench your heart. Stretches of peace and Scarborough's last start. The possibility of peace. The first scene, we have everybody back at the ranch from Sedona. Bryce is relaxing at the pool. Peyton is in her art studio and very meditative in the art studio. William unexpectedly shows up, and he tells Bryce that he saw her equestrian magazine spread that honored her championship. And the photo displayed a prominent temporary tattoo that was done by Hanovi. And William asked Bryce, please don't make that tattoo permanent. Bryce responds by saying, well, by what right do you have to ask anything concerning my life? You're engaged to someone else. She gets very defensive. So Bryce stands up for herself and she goes, well, what right do you have to even enter into questions concerning my life? Bryce's life is entirely stained in red. And Reine brought this up in her novel. I really like that. We've got the horse Big Red. She dyed her hair red. You got the red mountains of Sedona surrounding her. Life is entirely stained in red for Bryce. She has to pass through this period of spilled blood. Remember, it's all a metaphor. Her life is entirely stained in red. In this condition, William asked Bryce to join him to talk to the architect concerning the changes to the buildings for Pioneer Ranch. Remember, they're going to have the clinic on the veterinarian clinic on the ranch that will give it a redesigned new life. Now, Bryce has already begun taking steps toward her redesigned new life. She took up a yoga instruction, and she is teaching yoga. But the stain in red resurfaces in a very overpowering way, because back up at the house, Scarborough suffers a major heart attack. Scarborough begins his last start. Even though everyone scrambles, Scarborough says he doesn't want to go to the hospital. You don't need to scramble around to take me to the hospital. I wanted to die right here on the ranch, because the ranch is my home. Scarborough passes, and Coda sings a chant of sorrow in the traditional Indian way, a ritual of a chant of sorrow. Before passing, Scarborough leaves all of his possessions to Coda, because he says Coda has been the closest thing to his son that he ever has known. Scarborough has begun his last start. Hanover calls and tells Peyton that he will return to the ranch. They all need each other right now. It's a time to share in their grieving together, but also recollection of their memory of Scarborough. So, very powerful scene. I mean, it's an extremely powerful scene, and I love the fact that Coda does the Pueblo Indian chant of sorrow, and Scarborough gives everything that he owns. He gives to Coda. Not a blood relation, but he considers him family. He loves Coda. Coda loves Scarborough. And Hanover's vision that he had earlier about impending death, the vision was concerning Scarborough. He couldn't say it at the time, but that vision has now been fulfilled, because Scarborough has had the final heart attack that has taken his life. And just like the painting by Harlow, he's on a spiritual journey. They all believe that, and from both the Pueblo Indian culture, religious, spiritual culture, and the Catholic culture and theology, because remember, the family is very dedicated to the Catholic mission, and so they have very deep and serious convictions about spiritual life that continues when we pass through death. And so Scarborough is beginning, as he passes through death, Scarborough is beginning his last start of walking through that doorway into spiritual reality and a new spiritual type of existence. But it is a last start of a new spiritual journey. That's the way that they perceive death, and that's why they have the traditional Pueblo Indian spiritual beliefs coupled with the Catholic mission beliefs that they most certainly share. It's a tremendously powerful, it'll get to you. I got to tell you, when you read through this section, it's going to really get to you. That's going to wrap up 177 to 197. Let's see, next time we go 194 to 214. 194 to 214 next time. 194 to 214 next time. This takes us up and through 177 to 197.